Guys, welcome back to the Real Estate Monopoly. This is Kerwin.
This is Kenneth.
And this is Jeffrey.
And we are the Donis brothers. Today we are back for another Donis brother roundtable or Donis brother chat. I'm not really sure what the name is of these yet. Let us know if you're getting any value out of these. We are definitely getting value. It's like a fly on the wall of our masterminds, which we have all the time when we're at the park, walking, at the gym, in the car. We're just always masterminding. And so we thought, why not record these and post these and share these with our audience like you guys. So let us know if you're getting value or if you have any ideas for any topic that you want us to discuss. How are y'all doing today, Saturday? It's an awesome day.
Good.
Saturday. Champions create distance on Saturdays.
Yeah, I like to take my Saturdays and just try to do things I don't think I have time for throughout the week.
Yeah.
Like some personal care stuff, like some skin routine.
Get a mask.
Go to the bank.
Yeah.
Go to the bank. I love it.
I don't do that. Cummins doesn't do that often enough.
Yeah, I don't do it often. Yeah. But the topic we're going to be discussing today is dealing with pressure and anxiety as a real estate investor. I think this applies to any entrepreneurial thing, or like even if you have a job, or just honestly for us, especially as real estate investors. And I would say we felt it in the single family space, but as we transition into multifamily, doing bigger deals, it's like the bigger the numbers. I know they say it's like similar in terms of difficulty, but I think we felt more pressure and anxiety in the last few weeks than we ever have in business, in real estate, potentially in our lives, but we'll talk about that. So starting out, one of the first things I love talking about, there was a story, I was listening to a podcast, I told Jeffrey about it, but there was a quarterback from some college, and he said that he was being interviewed by a journalist, and the lady asked, like, how does it feel to be in a stadium full of people roaring, screaming, chanting your name, like putting all this pressure on you as a quarterback? And he said, pressure is a privilege. And that was such a powerful thing that I took away. And I think that's the kind of the point I wanted to start this conversation on. How is pressure a privilege in your opinion? And how do you kind of deal with that?
Yeah. Well,
first, let's start out with, how do you experience pressure as a real estate investor, just to provide context?
Yeah. In my specific role, we talk to different people and we raise money. So obviously in certain cases, there's things on the line, like your reputation, earnest money, just holding up to like your own standard and meeting your own expectations and reaching your goals. I'd say all of that comes to mind immediately. And if we fail, then like people say it's a good thing, but it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And then it being like a reality and almost before it happens, you know how you guys ever experienced like, but when we're raising for deals and we're working on deals and we're trying to close on properties, there's like that. There's always a chance that it doesn't close,
Of course.
right? So like, I'm sure you guys have like those flashes where like, oh crap, if it doesn't close, what would that look like? That would suck. That would really not be enjoyable. And then obviously, like we tried to not think negatively, but when those thoughts do come in, those are the things that make me feel like really anxious, and that's where I start to feel the pressure, is when I start to think that there's a chance that this doesn't go well. So how do I deal with that? I mean, is that what you asked?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good like starting point. I kind of wanted to provide context for like what that looks like. Why do you even have pressure? So like Jeffrey said, we're responsible for other people's money. That's a lot of pressure. Also, it's just a big deal, a big opportunity. So that's obviously going to have risk.
Yeah, I think we can like start with like the acquisitions end of it, because then when you do close, there's different types of.
Yeah, I mean, on the acquisition side, obviously, I mean, you're trying to make offers, and there's a ton of other people that are also trying to make offers, and you also don't want to necessarily make too high of an offer, because you know the returns are going to go down, but also you want to be competitive. So there's that kind of pressure. The brokers is a pressure because. Yeah. Especially, I guess in my case, you know, I'm a young guy, and you know, we haven't been that in the industry as long as other people have, and so they might look at us in a way in which they really don't think that we can get the deal done. So there's that kind of pressure. So it's just pressure from all angles. But
Kenny can't even grow a beard, so
exactly. It doesn't connect yet. So
well, I think like. It's also, we should emphasize how we're so new, we're just young in this industry, so we really want to be protective of our reputation, because like if you know something happens and word gets around, because it's not that big of a space, so I think that adds the pressure of like, you almost don't want to fail, even though we're big advocates for like learning and failing forward. It's ideal if you can avoid those.
Yeah, and I also think there's like an added pressure since you're so young. There's almost like you have to move differently, and you have to. I don't know. This is like a different question, but like, is there a way that like, or are we being at all inauthentic at all at any points where like we try our best to portray ourselves in a certain way, which is good, because I think you have to do that, especially when you're new and you're young and people look at you and there's so many reasons that they wouldn't take you seriously. So therefore, do we ever what do you guys think? Do you guys think we ever overcompensate, or people, do they ever tend to overcompensate?
I mean, I'm sure, but if it's all true, as long as you tell the truth.
I agree. I
don't know if we overcompensate. I would say it is an added pressure because, in the event that, something goes wrong, whether you don't close a deal or you lose money somehow or whatever it is, right? There's that pressure in which people will maybe look at you and say, oh, they're young, they shouldn't, be doing this or I mean, what are they trying to do in this industry? They just either lost money or they weren't able to get it. In which, because up front, obviously people have trust in you with either their money or brokers have trust in us closing deals.
Yeah.
But if, they give you that trust and then you don't necessarily perform, there's that pressure of, okay, should I ever even trust a young person ever again because they weren't able to perform kind of thing,
Well, it's not like they're going to hold a grudge against you.
No, obviously. But I'm just saying.
I would say
one thing on the acquisitions end, obviously let's say that you do get it under LOI and now you're under contract, you have pressure coming from the broker because they want you to close. They want obviously to get their commission. They don't want to look bad in front of the seller. And that's pressure that they're getting. Yeah. Therefore, they're going to apply it on you.
Yeah.
And as investors and when you're a buyer, you have that pressure, not only from the broker, but also from your own investors when you're trying to raise capital, also from your partners, because maybe some people are working in certain aspects and they're not actually having anything to do with the acquisitions end of it or the raising capital end of it, but maybe they're just doing asset management or something like that, right? And where you're kind of having different forces being applied on you, and that will equate to pressure. That's not something that everyone is experiencing. So that's somewhat of a tangent, but that's where I'm going in regards to the acquisitions end of it. There's pressure coming from the broker, your partners, and then if you do have earnest money, risk capital, obviously that's at risk if you don't close. Yeah. So that's an additional amount of pressure.
I think that's a good good context and overview of the different ways pressure can kind of manifest itself as a real estate investor. And so I kind of wanted to talk about, let's say a lot of people, they're at the beginning of their journey, or even they just don't, they are aware of the pressure and potential downsides of that. For example, anxiety, fear, that kind of physical and just also mental challenges. So why is it worth being in the arena? And why would you choose that discomfort over being comfortable in the stands, so to speak? There's a metaphor, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt. He kind of talks about being the man in the arena, even if you get bloodied and you're cut. Excuse me.
So was it you just ate something spicy?
Sorry, there's something in my throat.
Okay, no, but I can see where you were going with that.
Yeah. So why is it worth being in the arena over being someone just in the stands? Why are we choosing that discomfort and that risk?
Yeah, I think this answer might be super cliche, but I mean, I guess I can use examples, right? So every time you do something new and it's a little nerve wracking or a little, I guess, scary, you could say, it just kind of helps you overcome another obstacle in which, you'll, once that obstacle appears again in your life, you already know what to do. For example, we, had to necessarily we retraded on one of our properties due to the leverage kind of going down. But that's such a nerve-wracking kind of environment because you have to unfortunately go back to the broker and tell them, hey, we need a discount due to what's going on in the market. I mean, it's just reality, right? But now going forward, it's not necessarily we've already been through it once. Okay, we can start doing it on our own kind of thing, or even just we've already overcome that one time. And as you keep doing it, it's like a muscle, when you working it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree with everything you just said. I also think I don't remember where I heard this, but what in life that's worth going after is easy to get.
100%.
Everything that's worth achieving and acquiring, there's some type of obstacle or some type of work that has to be put in. If there wasn't that, then it wouldn't be desired. So, Mark Twain said it in his book. I don't even know if he said it, but it was in his book, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. I think that was the book. I didn't read it. That was like a high school.
It was a high school.
We
probably Spark Note.
Yeah, we Shakespeare Spark Note, whatever it was called. Yeah. But I was reading that book in Barnes & Noble this weekend, and it said everything that a human desires, it's something that it's hard to attain. I
love that. I want to add to that. I think there's also this illusion of safety and certainty that a lot of people find comfort in where they are and staying stagnant and not taking risks. But in reality, life is going to be hard no matter what you do. So I think by choosing to be an investor and taking those risks, you're kind of creating your own pressure, because there's going to be pressure no matter what you do. I think it's just the illusion of comfort that people get from not taking action and kind of staying in a place where they're not investing. Maybe they're working a job that they think is secure, but they're not building towards their future or their wealth. And that, as a result, will end up kind of putting them in an even worse spot in the long run.
Yeah. And I guess to kind of touch on that, a lot of people really seem to be like, maybe zombies is not the word, but I call them kind of like zombies because, they're just going through the motions every day and like they look lifeless, kind of thing, where they're, it seems like they're not really enjoying where they're at in life. But they don't really think about it. Like they don't really notice that time is going by. Like literally every day that goes by is not necessarily a day wasted, but it's just going by.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, going back to my point about it being hard, therefore that's why it's something that's desirable. I think if everyone could do whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever, like if it's so easy for anyone to do, then everyone would be doing it.
Yes.
But most likely, if it's giving you that much pressure, then it's difficult, which means there's most likely not a lot of people doing it, which means it's that much more valuable, most likely. Yeah. Especially in our case, when we're acquiring these assets, why are we doing it? You start to think, okay, well, what's like the point behind it? We're helping our investors achieve, life by design, ourselves as well. Those are things that not many people in the world ever get to do. It's difficult. That's why there's a lot of pressure through the process. Yeah, for sure. Like, or else it wouldn't be a thing that like we would be going after, because everyone would have it, and not everyone has it because there's so many obstacles and so much, I guess pressure.
I think what you're saying, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think kind of what you guys are saying is that pressure is a sign of something like that's worth doing. Pressure comes with things that are worth doing.
Progress.
Exactly. Well, it's just like, it's an indicator that you're doing something worthwhile. If there's pressure. Because like I said earlier, to kind of touch on the theme of this episode, pressure is a privilege.
Yeah.
And so you're in a great spot. A lot of people probably are envious of, especially if you're managing a ton of properties or you're responsible for a large complex that you're, the lead GP on, lead general partner on. That's going to have pressure, but it's also a privilege because a lot of people want to get to that point.
Yeah.
I think you wanted to be at that point, like old version of yourself wanted to be at that point.
That's a great point. I like that.
And even passive investors who maybe don't want to be a lead GP, but they want to be a passive investor. I think in a way there might not be as much pressure because you're not involved, but just curious, actually, this is like a random thought, but how would that involve pressure?
Yeah. I mean, you're
as
investing money, like, that,
exactly.
that's so big.
Yeah. You still get that, like, you don't have to necessarily worry about the active involvement in the deal, but you still have money out there.
At risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always at risk if it's an investment. That's a good point. Now,
so, and I guess just because we're on this topic of pressure, I mean, we've, the last like month, it's like honestly, it's been a while, like last 3 months, we've been working on deals and stuff. And it seems like as of lately, really, I mean, the pressure has really been there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, like we've kind of learned, or at least personally, I guess I can speak, I've kind of learned to just handle the pressure, and I'm starting to kind of find comfort in knowing that there's some form of pressure.
Yeah.
Like whenever I have to make a call, it's like I don't even like really think about it now. I mean, yeah, maybe I'll sit there for a second, but I just dive right in, and it's like flexing that muscle. And I was actually getting to a point where I was kind of being complacent, and I kind of was losing that I guess fearlessness of just diving in and just figuring it out kind of thing. But now I think we're starting to flex that muscle again. And I mean, I don't know, like I feel like alive. Like pressure really makes you stress, anxiety. It makes you feel alive. Depending on how
you makes diamonds.
It's because you're growing. Like it's discomfort. That's where the place growth is, on the other side of comfort. Now, we've kind of been circling around the same topic, so I want to kind of transition. You're right. We have been experiencing a lot of pressure lately, and I would like just. Jeff, you can provide some examples, but for me, like sometimes I would have a feeling on my chest that just be a weight, and I wouldn't even understand why it was there, but it was because I had all these like stressors from the things in real estate that we're doing right now and the multifamily deals we're working on. So I want to know, how have you guys managed? You touched on it. Be more specific. What are some practical ways you've managed the pressure and dealt with the anxiety and just the thoughts? And you can say it's not there, but you're doing something to either prevent it from being there, Like, what are the practical things you're doing?
Yeah, one thing I do, and it's the only thing that has really helped, is just take massive action. Like, I know that sounds maybe counterintuitive, but if I have a lot of pressure for our specific reasons, it was just to do more, because that would solve my problem. That was the only thing that was going to take the pressure off of me, was to solve the problem.
Great point.
How do I do that? By taking massive action.
Great point.
And so also, in order to like remove the source
solve the problem, and the way you do that is by doing more.
Okay.
Like, for us, that was making more calls.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Just call on more people.
Because I started looking into like Blackstone. I started looking into Trump and like how he built his empire and like just really big real estate empires that have been built. Sure. And during, especially a lot of them, but for example, Blackstone, the CEO was actually released from one of the firms that he used to work with, and it was a really big company because he lost $330 million. And so ever since I heard that, like him say that in an interview, I mean, like we're not at the stages where we're playing with that amount of money, but he bounced back from that. And so now I think in my head, like it doesn't matter where we go. Obviously, like we would never want to fail or lose any money or anything like that, but it doesn't matter how badly something gets, we can bounce back anytime. So I think that like kind of learning that or listening to that interview really just changed my perspective, because like as long as you it literally does not matter. It's like, it's the same line, right? As long as you never give up, you will not fail. And like, although that was a deep down for him, because $330 million, that's not easy to bounce back from. But then he left that company and built his own empire. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that is what kind of like, we're not even close. Like these problems are like, if we can't handle these problems, once we're doing like way bigger deals, we're not going to be able to handle those problems.
And that's what I was kind of touching on, because let's say, Jeffrey, you were saying you remove the source of the pressure. There's always going to be a source of pressure, because we're never going to stop. So that's why I was kind of touching on things like habits and daily practices that we have that are helping us manage it. Because I think even if you're not aware of it, and I'll touch on some, for me, meditation every day helps. Prayer helps. Just exercising every single day, going on walks outside, getting like vitamin D from the sun, fresh air, having hobbies on the side. I like to write and I journal. So things like that help me really focus. And when I really need to kind of de-stress, I'll talk to one of you and we'll just bounce ideas and be proactive with like coming up with a game plan for removing that source of pressure for sure. But I think it's not necessarily realistic to always try to remove the source of pressure, because it's kind of there for a reason.
I agree. I think like we have those similar habits. So I was going to go into like faith, putting that pressure onto like something of higher power. Yeah. That obviously helped us a lot. Meditating every single time I meditated, exercise. I'd say exercise, faith, and meditation played like the biggest roles. But also to say that like, okay, there's one thing to relieve the pressure by just trying to meditate it away, right? Or solve it. Whatever is giving you that pressure,
for sure,
like overcome it.
Yes,
and so that I think it's a mixture of everything. Because you're not. Why would you want to just like accept the pressure and then because you want different problems 100%.
Absolutely.
But like, let's not have this one if we don't want this one. Let's just go and solve it.
I agree, and I also think this is something that helped me a lot. It's like a mantra I saw I think it was Jordan Peterson that said it on Instagram or something, but it was along the lines of focus on what you can control. And the things you can't control, just let go of. Like, there's no point in being worked up about it. So there was a lot of this process of doing a deal in multifamily. There's a lot of waiting. It's a waiting game, and
on other people, waiting on other people.
And you can't. I mean, yes, you can like apply the fire under them and kind of push them a little bit, but in general, you don't want to kind of be too pushy. So you have to be patient. You have to be patient. It's a waiting game, and it's about controlling the factors that you can and not control, and like kind of letting go of the things that you can't.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything to add about kind of like focusing on what you can control?
Yeah. I mean, like, I also think we're spending time with the people that we like together. It's a lot easier to do the things that we're doing. And people might think on social media, it looks like we're always having fun and things like that, which we do really. But we also, like Kerwin said, over the last few weeks, it's been rough. Like I was down pretty bad some days where I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I just would like, like your thoughts smash you and you can't fall asleep because you just have so much going on. The way that I deal with it, one, by having faith, but also talking to you guys. Another thing, reaching out to my network. Like we have mentors. We have people that are a lot more successful than we are. We look up to, we work with, asking them like what they've been there before. They literally live in that. They live in it. They don't.
Have bigger problems.
We're in the arena. They run the arena. Like it is their arena.
So
that's facts.
First, like twofold question, but we're going to wrap up soon. So, would you guys say that there were negative thoughts, and if so, how did you guys manage those and remain optimistic? And what advice would you give to someone who has who's experiencing those negative thoughts about when it comes to pressure? And because I think pressure is a double-edged sword. Like you could be optimistic, but you can also have those dark thoughts. And how do you manage that?
Yeah, honestly, I think there's always negative thoughts, but in reality, what I really think about is what, like, and I know I think I read a book. I forgot where I read this, but it's not good, or I listened to an interview. It's not good to say what's the worst case scenario, but I like to think about what's the worst case scenario. And it's like, okay, what if everything just went, like, the shit hit the fan, and literally we lost all of our money. Like, just say our money, right? We would be stuck here trying to figure it out again, and we would just start again from zero. But our scenario is obviously, we come from a lower income single mother background, so we already started from zero. We already know how to continue going forward. We will figure it out. Other people, like, listening, their situation might be different. They might be up there, but, like, I just kind of picturing what is the worst case scenario.
I think your point is it's never going to be as bad as you think it
exactly. Yes, that's my point. You're not going to die.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Exactly.
Yeah. What I was going to say, and if you don't mind just reframing your question, because I kind of slipped my mind what I was going to say.
Well, yeah. How do you deal with negative thoughts?
Okay, yeah.
And do you have those negative thoughts, and how do you remain optimistic?
Yeah. So Kenneth said it. Everyone has negative thoughts, and I was definitely having them over the last few weeks. And I don't necessarily go away from it, but I was telling Kerwin, I picture myself of like a lion, like a fighter, and I'm in a ring versus life.
Yeah.
And I told Kerwin I would hate to be the other guy. If I was to get in a real fight to the death, I would hate to be the other guy, because I don't care. Like we always say it. We're going down. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down fighting. So, like, I know, regardless of my thoughts, regardless of what's happening externally, I will, like, literally do anything and everything physically and humanly possible all day, every day. Mm-hmm. Dedicate myself to whatever it is. Yeah. And I know if I do that, then that's all I can do. So why worry about things like you said? Why worry about things you can't control when I'm putting in all maximum effort? And that is what I can do. Yeah. That's all I can do. Therefore, I'm not going to worry about things I can't do and just worry about things I can control.
Yeah. What I just heard is you can't always control your thoughts, but you can't control your reaction to them and your actions on the external. Yeah. And so that's why, like, you said yourself, you might have those negative thoughts, but it's about what you do on the outside. So let's say you have those negative thoughts and they're coming up. How do you react to those? You can still continue with your good habits, exercise, meditate.
And I'll also, like, affirmations. It's big. I'll like, if
visualization.
Every time I visualization, for sure. I also will go into, if I'm, like, looking at the mirror, I'll yell, not too loud because you guys don't hear me.
Is that why I hear you yell?
I'm like, I'm a beast. I'll say, I'm a king. Like, I will win. And I actually yell, and, like, I feel it. I say it's like, I yell it, but you guys, I don't yell it, but, like, mouth it.
We can hear you.
Makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. I'm like, but I'm seriously, like, I mean it. Like, I feel it through my bones. So when I walk out, I feel different. And if I go into the bathroom feeling like, negative because it's been a hard day. Yeah. I say things like that, like actually affirming it. I walk out feeling like a different person. So
like a beast and a king.
Yeah.
As you should.
Yeah. Yeah. Rightly so.
Rightly so.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, in general, I think it's also, I touched on it earlier, but coming up with an action plan, I think has helped us a lot when we'll sit down, because there was some days where we were down bad and we were just mentally, really drained. And I think for us, what really helped was sitting down, coming up with a game plan, and figuring out, okay, this is why we're stressed. These are our problems. So how do we solve them? It's just about keeping a level head, because I think you could spiral,
Ooh, something, I don't know who told me this, but I think you mentioned ideas. There's like a limited amount of ideas in the world. There's, like, you can go into it, but let me get my point out. So there's a limited amount of ideas, and the only thing, Trump said it in a book, the only thing holding us back from solving our problems is just getting a new idea. We don't lack whatever we're looking for. We just lack ideas. Mm-hmm. So if there's a limited amount of ideas, that means it's out there and we have access to it. We just don't have it yet. So we have to find a way to get it. So what we do all the time is we'll mastermind, sit down, and we'll be like, okay, we just got to come up with more ideas to solve our problem. Yeah. Every time we've done that, we come up with the idea, we implement, and then if it doesn't work, we come back and do it again. Mm-hmm. But we almost always solve the problem.
And that's so true, because sometimes we'll be like, so we'll come up with, on Sunday, we'll come up with a plan for the week, and then we'll be panicking on Wednesday because we're not sure what's going on.
It didn't work.
We really just figure, just stick to the plan. It's kind of, it's a road. It's the railway. You stay on the road no matter what. And you might be swerving. You might be swerving. The thing you're talking about when it comes to, it's a book called Big Magic. I love that book. I'm rereading it again. It's really good. But it talks about how ideas are entities that just want to connect with another person, and a person that will help them be realized. And so pretty much it's like one person can have the same idea as another person, because the idea just wants to be realized. So they'll visit multiple people. So the point is, when you're at a mastermind like we do, and you sit down to come up with a game plan, the game plan is just essentially the realization of an idea that is going to solve the problem you have that is causing you stress and the pressure. So that is pretty much my takeaway.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it seems like whenever we mastermind, like you said, we come up with like a game plan, but it's always like some massive action game plan, like go call all these people, or like some crazy, like just take massive action. So like you made a good point earlier. It's really to solve either if it's a negative idea or a negative thought, or you're having a lot of pressure, just take more action, honestly. And we kind of find some, or at least personally, I guess I find some
comfort.
Yeah, some comfort in that, because even if I'm not necessarily directly solving the problem, I feel good in knowing that I'm taking the action that I believe is going to potentially solve that problem.
Typically, your problems are a source of your lack of effort, in my opinion.
I would also say you're so busy taking action that you don't have time to like think about it and get worried. So that's why it's good to have an action plan and then just do it, and not really, because then you're so busy, you're in the midst of taking action that you don't have time to think about your problems.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah,
Final takeaways before we.
No, I just think, it's good. I think, you are. I saw like a Rocky. I don't know if you guys know Rocky Balboa, the boxer. It was one of the movies with Creed, and he was looking in the mirror, and he said, "Look at that person. That is your worst enemy." And that's what I was saying this week with the pressure. It's literally you versus you.
Yep.
And that's why I was telling you, like, if you can develop the mindset where you can overcome your I guess the biggest enemy that you have is yourself, then you can pretty much do anything. And obviously there's going to be pressure and challenges and obstacles, but as long as you can kind of control and work on yourself, I think eventually everything, like I said, will pass.
Yeah. One step back, 2 steps forward. That's all I got to say.
Olivia Rodrigo.
Just meditate.
Yeah.
Seriously, meditation helps too, and come up with an action plan that will help you kind of mitigate the impact of your pressure and anxiety that comes from that. So guys, if you guys have any questions about what we just talked about, let us know down in the comment section below, or DM us on Instagram. We'd love to help. And if you guys have any other ideas about topics we could help you guys with or just cover, reach out. Let us know. Where can they find us?
At Donis Brothers on every social media platform. This is the Real Estate Monopoly. Yes. And you can find me at Jeffrey Donis, and you can find them at
Donis Kerwin and Donis Brothers on YouTube.
And Kenneth _Donis.
I don't know. Yeah, Kenneth doesn't remember a lot of things. So
yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in today. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys got value. Let us know. Again, reach out, and let's get out there and take action, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a great day. Thank you.